All right, we are live. Spencer was getting on my case because there's a bunch of games playing right now that we want to bet on. So we might even go through that at the very end of the show. But we're back for Boys Bet Ball episode 10. And a ton has happened. This is like one of the best times of year for sports. You have bowl games, which we talked about a couple episodes ago, them kind of dying, but I think they're kind of exciting this year. And the college football playoff. And then, of course, NFL craziness happens every single week, which we'll go over. NBA, things are starting to turn up as football winds down. NBA starts heating up a little bit. Honestly, not much has changed for college basketball, but let's go ahead and hop into it. NFL, the game that's the freshest on our mind, Monday Night Football. We had the Falcons play at home against the LA Rams, which arguably you could say the Rams are one of the best teams in the NFL, playing in the best division in the NFL. And they lay a stinker. And what you thought was a lock MVP for Matthew Stafford, he somehow finds a way to not totally fumble it. We'll discuss that because I don't think it's a lock that Drake May is going to win. And I have my reasons for that. But when you go down, they're down at 14-0 to the Atlanta. And to be fair, the Falcons have been playing better. Their defense is really good. They have some key rookies they picked up defensively in the draft, as well as you can't count out Bijan Robinson. That's how you pronounce his name. It's not Bijan, it's Bijan, like Dijon mustard. So they're always a tough out. And I mean, they played against the Bucs. They beat them clear out. Bucs, honestly, I don't think are that good. I don't think they're going to even win the division, to be honest. But end all be all, Atlanta Falcons aren't the worst team in the world. But at the same time, LA Rams kind of did. Matthew Stafford kind of did what he did to basically lose that game. But he did come back. So that helped his odds a little bit better. But I have my thoughts on the MVP race. Obviously, odds favorite right now is Drake May. I haven't looked the last time. Let me just pull it up right now. Last time I saw it was like minus like 300. Drake May, and then Matthew Stafford was, and of course, Kalshi makes me update my app. Matthew Stafford was like 250 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we both have obviously staked some more than others in a Matthew Stafford MVP. He's 37. There were wonderings whether he was going to be healthy enough to even play this season. Being that old, you don't know how much game he has left. And yeah, I thought for sure they would win. He tied Brett Favre for most pick six touchdowns in NFL history, and almost broke him if the guy didn't step out of bounds. And of course, illegal blindside block that pushed him back. But yeah, I want to drink a little bit more of the Kool-Aid that Mike's saying that it's not over. Statistically, even with 3 interceptions in the game, they have just the same amount of interceptions. I think the biggest case you could make for Matthew Stafford on the Pat McAfee show, I think they showed a little breakdown, is the fact that he has the 6th highest strength of schedule this season, or strength of schedule this season, while Drake May has the 32nd. And for those of you who don't know, there's 32 teams in the NFL. So he has had the easiest schedule in the NFL. I think they said he has thrown 0 touchdowns in teams above 500 or just playoff teams. It might just be teams over 500. So people will knock Stafford for throwing all these, 5-yard touchdown passes, but I don't know. I still think he has a shot. And McVay said they're going to play this week because they have to, play better. So hopefully he's able to give us an MVP-worthy performance.
Yeah, and I think he's definitely capable against the Cardinals. The only caveat to that, so LA Rams still do have something to play for. They're not automatically locked into the number 6 seed in the NFC. We have, unfortunately, it's the night before. Ideally, you'd want them on the same day, but on Saturday, you have the Seahawks playing in Seattle against the Niners, and that will determine who is the division winner as well as the number 1 seed in the NFC. So, hypothetical situation, Seattle beats San Francisco. San Francisco drops down to the 6th seed if the LA Rams beat the Cardinals on Sunday the next day. But if the Niners beat Seattle in Seattle, then the Niners will be the top seed in the NFC division winner. And then Seattle will technically be tied with the LA Rams, but due to the tiebreaker rules, they will get the 5th seed, and then LA.
No, Seattle will be 13-4, and the best the Rams can be is 12-5. So they'd have a 1-game record.
Sorry, not same record. So they'll hop them in the standings and be that 5th seed. So it's all dependent on that. If the Niners win, I still think, like hearing what Sean McVay said, I think they'll at least play like one half. Because I mean it's the Cardinals, and to be fair, we said the Falcons too, but the Cardinals are a different breed. The Cardinals suck. Like their whole offensive line is injured, their whole defensive line is injured. Like they're bad.
I'm on the phone.
Yeah. So I think they still have something to play for, even when it stands right now. Plus, you have the Pats playing at home, granted it's at home, against the Miami Dolphins. And who knows, anything could happen in that game as well. You saw what Miami was able to do last week. They could replicate and maybe make it a close game, make things interesting. So there's that factor as well. But as it's priced right now, so I'm looking at Kalshi, Drake May minus 317 to win, Matthew Stafford plus 233. So roughly 74% chance for Drake May to win, 28% chance for Matthew Stafford to win. I think as it sits right now, it should be more priced to 60% Drake May, 40% Matthew Stafford, as far as just accounting those two individuals and not anyone else. And the reason for that is people forget, and I listened to my guy Rob Pizzola. I love that guy. He has because he's been sports betting forever. People have to realize it's not the public that decides who's the MVP is. It's the MVP, voters. It's the media. And honestly, I think the media and the people who are actually responsible for voting for the MVP would likely, based off of what it is right now, obviously things could change next week, but based off of it right now, I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards Matthew Stafford because I feel like they just have more respect for Matthew Stafford. He's 37. Like Spencer was saying, they weren't even going to know if he was healthy this year. Strength of schedule, I think, factors in a lot more for those MVP voters than the public, because the public just loves Drake May, gay for May. So I think the public is obviously on the Drake May side. I think the voters would be more on Stafford's side. They respect him because he's been in the league and basically what he's been able to do in the toughest division in the NFL against one of the toughest strength of schedules versus Drake May. And then also the separate factor, which could weigh in as well, as you have Vrabel up for Coach of the Year as well. I don't see there a world where Vrabel, because Vrabel's the favorite to win Coach of the Year right now. I don't think there's a world where Vrabel wins Coach of the Year and Drake May wins the MVP, because they would discount each other. Like if you have the best coach in the league for the year, you give him a little bit more points than say, oh, it's because of Drake May. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about Drake May, kind of a good segue into, and I guess tying in, Drake May with the Coach of the Year. I think Coach of the Year is kind of wide open, to be honest. I mean, you have Liam Cohen in Jacksonville, and quite frankly, I think if the 49ers are able to beat Seattle on Saturday and to win the number 1 seed,
Shanahan.
my vote would be Kyle Shanahan. Just the
I
fact
think
that
my vote would be Kyle Shanahan right now. Like, think about like all the injuries they've had, and they still like are competing in that division and are going to make the playoffs. I think that's insane.
yeah, and I just think like it's a surefire if they beat the Seahawks on Saturday and are the number 1 seed with all the injuries they've had to endure. Brandon Ayuk kind of just quitting on the team. So yeah, I guess with that, if Shanahan were to win, they would be more comfortable giving Drake May the MVP. Yeah, speaking of the Patriots, this week they absolutely obliterated the Jets, who 16 games into the season have yet to record an interception. Some people were saying the Bills should just run the ball on every single play just to make sure they don't get an interception, because that would just epitomize the season the Jets have had. And yeah, I mean, hindsight's 2020. Maybe I should have cashed out my Matthew Stafford future, because Drake May, they said, oh, Drake May had 2 incompletions the whole game, and Matthew Stafford had 3 interceptions in his game. Like, gay for Drake May, gay for May. But yeah, I mean, you're playing the Jets, who've mailed it in. They have Brady Cook at quarterback.
No, the fact that they're playing Brady Cook at quarterback when Tyrod Taylor they're deeming him like, oh, he kind of has like that leg injury. Like, the reason why they're playing Brady Cook is because they're tanking. It's like a easy way to tank without saying you're actually tanking.
Yeah, and it's just like I think, yeah, like we talked about, the biggest indictment on Drake May, it's not his fault, it's just the strength of schedule. Like, Matthew Stafford's in the best division in football by far and going head to head. And yeah, a lot of these teams, they play a lot looser when, there's nothing on the line. It's just, we're just playing games because, our contract says we have to play games. And Atlanta has been feisty this season. That win, ultimately, if they beat the Saints next week, it doesn't matter if Tampa Bay wins against the Panthers. Like, the Panthers are in, just because there'll be a 3-way tie and how all the tiebreakers work. So yeah, huge knock to Tampa Bay. I mean, they've completely fallen apart second half of the season. Kind of transitioning, we talked about Shanahan and the 49ers Sunday night, possibly game of the year. Absolutely no defense, but game of the year. 49ers beat the Bears with their winning formula being never kicking a field goal, where the Bears kicked 1 field goal, winning an absolute shootout 42-38. And with that performance, you almost ask yourself, like, if Purdy played the whole season, he'd probably be in the MVP conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I think the way that Kyle Shanahan runs that offense is phenomenal. Like, obviously, I'm not like a Kyle Shanahan fan at all, because of like being in the NFC. I'm a Cowboys fan, and lately they've always like beat us, but in the playoffs the past couple of years. But yeah, he like doesn't matter. Like, I will give Purdy his props as well. Like, he is good. But the way that Kyle Shanahan runs his system in San Francisco, like, they had Mac Jones looking really good, like winning games. So that says something.
Yeah. And I know it seems like an eternity ago, because it almost is. But we had 3 Christmas games, which we thought were all going to be chalk. They all were, with the exception of the Vikings absolutely making Jared Goff see ghosts, like Sam Darnold back when he was on the Jets, winning 23-10 and eliminating them from the playoffs. Mike, do you think like the Super Bowl window for the Lions is closed?
I don't think so. It's just tough. The NFC is so good. I don't think it's closed per se. Their defense has been, their offense was really bad too, but I think Honestly, at this point, I don't know what you do with the Lions. I think you can make some improvements in the secondary for them defensively. Their line has been kind of like in and out of the lineup health wise all year, but to be fair, you could say that about most teams. And I mean, to be fair, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs kind of got shut down as far as like production. So he's a force to be reckoned with, but he seems like he's stoppable. And I think Montgomery is out. He has not been liking the amount of carries he's getting. It's been going less and less. And granted, like you have Jahmyr Gibbs in your backfield too. You're probably going to feed him more than Montgomery. But I see Montgomery probably leaving. I don't know how much he has left on his contract if he's a free agent next season. But they have the weapons. They just need to. I mean, the last game it was the offense, but also on paper you look at their offense and they're probably one of the most offensively like loaded teams in the NFL. So I'd say they can beef up their defense a little bit more. And then obviously the loss of Ben Johnson is apparent. You know, he's doing great things in Chicago, and once he leaves Detroit's struggling.
Yeah, it's easy to overreact and say no. I mean, say yes, but I feel like, yeah, Ben Johnson, you mentioned at the end, I feel like that's huge loss that they took. I thought he was easily the best offensive coordinator, and clearly he was, because he got the pick of the litter in terms of head coaching positions. Even the year before, he was on a plane to Washington to go interview for the Commander's job, or maybe even take the Commander's job, and then he just got cold feet and said no. And I think he made a good decision in terms of Chicago Bears. Say what you want about Caleb Williams. He's played well this season, and he's kind of recreated what he had in Detroit with Swift, and I always butcher his name, but Mona guy, yeah. So, yeah, I feel like the NFC is an absolute gauntlet. You're seeing that the Rams are the third in the division, with possibly ending the season with 12 wins. So I just feel like even their division is tough with, Chicago, Green Bay, and if the Vikings can ever, fix 9, JJ McCarthy, or just move off from him. Saturday we had 2 games. The Chargers lost to, my adopted Texans, ultimately eliminated them from the AFC West Division Championship. I know me and Mike had a little wager. Definitely made me sweat it out. But
came down to week 17. I can't hope for anything more.
Yeah, and Texans played good defense. The Chargers kind of just came up short. Dicker, the kicker, missed a field goal. Then he missed the PAT to get the lead down to 3. Didn't matter because the Texans didn't get with the ball. But yeah, I think we talked about it off stream before. Like, Texans will go as far in the playoffs as CJ Stroud will let them, because their defense is a Super Bowl defense, and it's left to be seen what CJ Stroud shows up.
Yeah.
And then with the last game, we had Ravens visiting the Packers. People seem to be on the Packers, but it was the Derrick Henry show. Hopefully you didn't play him in your fantasy championship. I know both of us were able to avoid him. He was on like the 8th or 9th worst team in our division, so very far away. But 4 touchdowns, 36 carries, a career high, 216 yards on the ground, beating a Jordan Love-less Green Bay Packers. I mean, Tyler Huntley was quarterbacking for the Ravens, but you hand the ball to Derrick Henry and good things happened that game. Yeah,
like, I didn't watch the game. I wasn't super interested in that game just because it could have been a really good game. Sunday, was it Saturday night or Sunday night? I can't remember.
Saturday
night at Lambeau Field, cold game. You have the Packers, Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs against Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and the Ravens. You didn't really see any of that. You had backup quarterbacks for both. And yeah, I wasn't interested in that game at all. And I thought it was just going to be a closer game. In no world was I thinking the Packers might win due to a lot of injuries they had. But yeah, Packers lost.
Yeah, and it was kind of
6th seed, and then Ravens playing for their division championship next week or this week.
Yeah, Ravens had to take care of business. It was win or go home in terms of the playoffs. Their only in was a division. So they held up their end of the bargain, and then they just needed the Cleveland Browns, led by Shador, perfect timing, Sanders, to upset the Steelers at home. And that's exactly what they did. They held the Steelers to 2 field goals, I believe, right? It wasn't a touchdown. 2 field goals. In a 16-13 slog fest. The Steelers made sure Myles Garrett didn't record a sack to break the all-time record of sacks in single season. But yeah, like Mike said, now we have a divisional win or go home matchup with the Steelers versus the Ravens next week. So a lot of, lineups or a lot of potential matchups with, Tampa Bay, Carolina, and Steelers, Ravens, as well as 49ers, Seahawks. But that one, both teams are in the playoffs. It's just a matter of, getting the bye and having a home field for the entire playoffs leading up to the Super Bowl. But those are all the games. Of course, I can't fail to mention
number 1 pick.
Almost. The Raiders were victoriously losers in the toilet bowl. Geno did his thing, throwing two interceptions. Was one of them a pick 6?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, one of them, no. They had a punt return touchdown. So the Raiders cut the lead to 10, only to allow a kickoff return touchdown to a 17, and then Jackson Dart closed the door on a 4th and 1 goal line stand where he just ran the ball in for a touchdown. And 34-10, and barring a catastrophic win next week against Kansas City, we should have the number 1 seed locked up.
Yeah. Honestly, that game, like the Giants game versus the Raiders, was pretty bad. I feel like the Raiders-Chiefs games might be worse.
Yeah, tune in next week.
For like Jackson Dart is not very good, but you have like Chris Olodokun as the other quarterback. Oh man, like I think I want to say the total line for that game is like 34.5 or something. 33, 34. It's terrible. But I don't think the Raiders are going to win. When you have Kansas City, you have Kansas City favored by 4.5 points. That's on their 3rd string quarterback. That's bad, man. Yeah. Oh well, total. What is the total? It's like 30, 34, something like that. 34, 35. But yeah, that's an ugly game. Anyway, that's the good recap for NFL. I'll just go quick NBA real quick. Big things that happened. Jokic just got hurt. I want to say yesterday or the day before. He had his teammate Spencer Johnson fall back into his knee. He hyperextended his knee. He's out for a minimum 4 weeks. And that's a minimum. And they did an MRI and they said everything looks pretty clean. So he most likely just have like a bone bruise similar to what Cam Johnson had. But not good news for the Nuggets. The Nuggets, at this point, they'll be down 4 starters, and Jamal Murray is going to be the only starter from the original lineup. And everyone knows his history with injury, so hopefully he doesn't get hurt. He can carry them, maybe solidify himself as a first-time All-Star. with this opportunity, but it doesn't look good for the Nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, I have Denver in our wins-losses draft, so him being out for a minimum 4 weeks definitely hurts. I didn't update the wins and losses for this episode, but I think, my team is moving in the right direction. Cleveland has won, 2 or 3 straight and look to be on pace to beat the Phoenix Suns tonight. Golden State beat Charlotte, so that was a double whammy for me, at least today. And Atlanta beat Minnesota, which was another win. So yeah, we'll keep tabs on that. There's a big matchup tonight. New York visits San Antonio. Jalen Brunson versus Victor Wembanyama. So tune into that one. That's probably the marquee matchup for tonight in the NBA.
Yeah. Spurs, they beat OKC 3 times in a row, but they've had a couple games where they just haven't looked good. Like they lost against the Jazz, which was I didn't watch that game, but yeah, shocked that they lose to the
and
Jazz.
Cleveland.
And then Cleveland, yeah. Cleveland is still one of those teams you can't really believe in them. They have good players. I think the big thing that works against OKC that isn't working necessarily as well as these other teams is when they play against OKC, they just put Wemby on like Alex Caruso or some guard that doesn't really shoot very well, Lou Dort, whoever it is. That way you can kind of like freely roam around. If you can have a guy on your team that can consistently hit threes against that, then I think that's where the Spurs are in trouble. So they might have to change their strategy with that. But that's kind of how I've seen teams being able to beat the Spurs. And then you saw it against New York, when all of their guys, unless Mitchell Robinson is playing, they can all shoot threes. And a team gets hot from 3. It's kind of hard to beat anyone in this league. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But trade talks with AD, they're heating up again, and I'm all for it. AD does not provide any value to the Mavericks. I know initially at the beginning of the year, I was like, honestly, even if we just keep him and he just like doesn't play, I think at this point, I think his trade value just gets worse and worse after every single day, even if he's not playing and healing up, at this point, you just kind of need to cut the losses. So most likely who the Mavs would trade AD to is the Hawks. The Hawks are actually one of the only teams that are like very interested in trading. There are some talks with the Warriors, but sources say that it was initiated by the Mavs and not by the Warriors. And to be honest, the Warriors don't really have anything to trade either. They would have to involve a couple more teams to make the money work out, because there's no way that they'll be trading Steph or Jimmy. They would want to trade Draymond. And to be honest, I think that might be a worse contract is being on Draymond's contract versus AD's contract. So it'll be interesting. There's trade scenarios for just a straight up Mavs Hawks trade, which would involve Ristichet, their current first round pick, not the New Orleans pick, which I'm still hoping that we somehow can finagle, but I know it's probably not going to happen. And then I think they added in like Luke Kennard and some other player, which those are just Kristaps Porzingis, which are just expiring contracts. Honestly, I don't really think if I had to, I'd probably take that trade, but ideally you'd like to involve like another team. I know there's other teams, for example, Orlando being involved because they're wanting to get rid of Trae Young as well from the Atlanta side. So involving a third team to get rid of Trae Young and get AD in return, another team or two is going to have to be involved. So that was pretty interesting to see possibly Orlando trading like Suggs. Somehow it would go to the Mavs. So Mavs would end up trading, I believe, like Clay and maybe Gafford as well in order to get like Ristichet, the first round pick, and then maybe a player like Jalen Suggs or Jonathan Isaac. I would love to get Anthony Black, but I doubt that he's probably touchable as he's kind of taken off a little bit this year for the Orlando Magic. But I think it would be interesting, and I definitely think we should the Mavs should trade AD this year because, like I said, every single day that goes by, his trade value goes down. So if you have a team that's actually interested in trading for him, like, you kind of have to take it.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, and you trade him before he goes down with another injury, Anthony Davis. So, yeah. Anything else you want to cover on the NBA? I mean,
yeah, we can just cover it real quick because I'm genuinely curious because Spencer's a Lakers fan, and the Lakers looked really, and they look decent right now, but they looked really good at the beginning of the year. LeBron wasn't playing yet. You had a healthy Reed, a healthy Luka. Things were clicking on all cylinders. Granted, they did have a pretty easy schedule, but nonetheless, they started off really hot. And then ever since LeBron came back, and then of course now you have Luka was like in and out of the lineup with a little bit of an injury, and then you now have Reeves out for a minimum of a month. What do you kind of do? I know you have some younger players like Nick Smith has kind of getting into the rotation with Reeves being out. He's had some good flashes of being able to hit the three, score a little bit as well. Obviously, you have guys like Jackson Hayes, DeAndre Ayton stepping up from what they previously played like the past season or two. But I don't know what do the Lakers do in this situation? Because right now I think they would make the playoffs, but obviously Los Angeles Lakers, they always want to be contenders for a championship, especially with LeBron's later years. You know, he could retire in the next season or two. So I really don't know what the Lakers do from now on. Like, how can they make their team better?
Yeah, I mean, our podcast is Boys Bet Balls. So, like the Lakers, they played Detroit last night. Detroit was favored by 2.5 or 3.5 points, depending on where you got it. I really thought about just absolutely obliterating Pistons minus that.
I
covering the spread.
Yeah.
I waited and I ultimately got it at a money line at maybe minus 125 live. The Pistons absolutely blew out the Lakers in the fourth quarter, continuing our streak of losing by 10 plus points every single game when we lose. Yeah, I mean, I've talked to my dad about it, and you watch them when they play teams like the Spurs or the Hawks, or in this case Detroit. It's a young man's game, and the way the league has moved, you got to be long, play defense and athletic, and that's something the Lakers really aren't. People have made compilations, Laker fans, because they're really watching Luka because he's in LA, and there's like, this guy plays absolutely zero defense, and I'm not saying he has to be all NBA or all defensive first team, but defensive effort. And in Dallas, he had teammates and big men who could cover for him, but the Lakers really have no one. I mean, even with Reeves in the lineup, I think they say you have 3 minus defenders with LeBron, Luka, and Reeves. DeAndre Ayton isn't really known for his defense. Our best defender, Jaren Vanderbilt, JJ Redick hasn't really played until recently.
Yeah, he's been playing a little bit more due to injury, and he's actually surprisingly been somewhat productive on offense.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, when he goes in, all of a sudden you see effort and energy, and we get steals and loose balls. And we were playing, I think, Phoenix, and we were up by 20, and the Lakers always play not to lose at the end of the game, and it came down to 2-point game. Or Dylan Brooks that game, he hit that 3 and he chest bumped LeBron, helped us get the win, even though LeBron missed the free throw. I don't know why he was shooting the free throw. I can go on a long tangent about the Lakers, but Giannis, but that has to involve Nico Harrison being the general manager of the Milwaukee Bucks for us to pull that off. So I don't know. You hope for a miracle. You hope some of these we can somewhat mask, because we've had good stretches. Like last year, we had basically the same team, and we ended up being the 3 seed going into the playoffs. So it's left to be seen. But I just feel like these young athletic teams, Detroit, San Antonio, Oklahoma City. You can just see it on the court. Like, they're just faster, want it more, and shoot better threes than us. That's for sure. So
yeah, it's just tough to see because I think offensively they're great. I think I would have to look at the stats, but I want to say they're probably like top 10 in offense. But their defense is so bad, and a lot of it's just effort. You know, JJ has kind of voiced his opinion about that, which I think is very granted. But yeah, it's tough. You definitely have to have guys like almost like an Asar or Amen Thompson to like cover for like Luka and even Reeves. They'll play stretches where it's like basketball defense. They'll put in effort, but yeah, that's where you kind of miss guys like Dorian Finney-Smith leaving the Lakers to sign with the Rockets. Guys like that, guys who are like a legitimate like 3D presence. Yeah. So I think they can make some small moves. It's tough when a ton of your money is tied up in the 3 players where you don't really have a ton of flexibility, especially mid-season. So it'll be interesting. I think they need to get better at the wing defensively, just honestly most positions defensively. And I mean, I guess that's why they brought in Marcus Smart, but I think Marcus Smart, and me being a huge Marcus Smart fan, I went to high school with him, but I think he's at the point of his career where, yeah, you get some like good defensive play from him. He's streaky on offense, which doesn't help, but he can also just make like stupid decisions where he'll just get like tech like randomly, or he'll just foul a bunch, and he'll I'd say more times than not by the like third or fourth quarter he has like 4 or 5 fouls, like and he only plays probably like 20 minutes a night or something like that. So yeah.
ooh, I was like Bryce Underwood just threw an interception and the goal line.
All right, let's go into. All right, well, I just want to do a brief like recap of like bowl season so far. I think that it's kind of been proven that the SEC is kind of sucked. And granted, people will always make excuses like, oh, well, all of our best players are opted out or whatever. Clear example is TCU played USC, and I know it's not an SEC team, so I'm mainly just hyping up Big 12. But TCU, Josh Hoover, he opted out and went to the transfer portal. I think he's going to be the next quarterback, possibly for Indiana. We'll see, but or Oklahoma State, I can't remember. And yeah, they literally have a walk-on quarterback playing for TCU, and he ends up beating. Granted, USC has also had a few people opt out, mainly their top receivers, 2 of them, I want to say. But other than that, I want to say most of their guys in defense were still there, and their quarterback was still there, which is your most important player. And it took like a weird 3rd and 20 in overtime. They couldn't tackle the guy, push him out of bounds at least, but they end up winning in overtime off of a touchdown. And this is, yeah, you lose to a walk-on quarterback. Granted, TCU has always been known for like having good quarterbacks, guys that can throw the ball. So whether it's their first string or second string guy, Josh Hoover used to be a backup at one point. But then you have them, Tennessee losing to Illinois. And I believe I saw stats like Tennessee does not have an FBS win over an opponent with a record over 500. They have 0 wins. So that's troubling. And you saw Vanderbilt lose today to Iowa, and we'll see what happens with the Texas-Michigan game, but SEC is not off to a good start. They're currently 2-4 or 2-5 in bowl games. And I guess that's also including the college football playoff, which a couple of them were against their own team. So, yeah, I think the SEC is very overrated, and people are finally realizing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, a testament to NIL and that people – I think it's a lot more apparent during March Madness. Me and Michael have tried to play the underdogs in March Madness, and it's proven the last 2 years to not be profitable as it has in past years. And that's just a product of you see somebody either ball out in March Madness or just during the season, and then a big name school just says, "Hey, we'll offer you X amount of dollars to come play with us." And these smaller market teams, smaller college teams can't, pay that same price. So the talent goes to the top. And in this case, with football, there's probably more good college football teams as opposed to college basketball teams, just because there's a lot more players and positions that need to be filled. So you're seeing these teams transferring, and then SEC is no longer the powerhouse because it's not just the notoriety of playing the SEC, because now you're getting paid to go play at Brigham Young, or getting paid to play at Oregon, getting paid to play at USC with what's his face? Who's the coach again?
Lincoln Riley.
I was gonna say Lane Kiffin. That was once upon a time.
Basically the same person.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin's a little more slimy than Lincoln Riley, but
hanging out doing hot yoga with like girls half his age. But anyway, well, let's get into preview. So I want to, obviously it's bowl season right now. You have one college football playoff happening tonight, Miami versus Ohio State, which is going to start actually in like an hour. Or sorry, not an hour, like an hour and a half, but we have good games. So let's start with that Miami Ohio State game. Right now, looking at the odds, I believe the spread at one point it was 9.5, but at least from what I'm seeing, it's dropped down to like 7.5. And total is around like 40.
40.5.
Yeah, 40.5. So based off this game, the thing is, Miami is very high variability in my opinion. Ohio State, you kind of know what you're going to get from them defensively as well as offensively. They're very slow and methodical. They rely on their defense, and their defense is probably top in the nation, I would say. But you can't sleep on Miami's defense as well. You obviously saw that against A&M. Like, A&M couldn't score a touchdown against the Miami defense. They have a legitimate pass rush. They have pretty good secondary. The only concern I would have is Miami's offense. I don't know how they're going to move the ball against Ohio State, just because Ohio State's defense is so dominant and so good. So if I had to choose, I would be looking at the under in this game. But if I had to choose a side, it would probably be Ohio State, especially since it's dropped. If you get a 7.5, or if you maybe eat the juice and get like a 6.5. I know a ton of money's coming on Miami, but I think Ohio State has this game. But I think I would say more lean toward I would take the under over picking a side.
Yeah, I mean, I saw people saying the same about the under. 40.5 just seems like such a low number. Maybe I'm just still a little salty from this morning's Vanderbilt. Frick, who do they play? Iowa game. Everyone was saying, yeah, the under, and that was even a higher, like a 43, 44.5. Looked great until, the last 25, 40 seconds of the first half. It was 7-3. I guess they had a intentional grounding on a punt. So ultimately,
on a punt,
start off the half 14-3, and then they ended up proceeded to score 44 points in the second half combined. So really, can't even really say bad beat by me. Just but just 40.5 seems like a lot. Seems like a very low number. But you look at Ohio State's games, and their defense tends to just play lights out. They've allowed more than, I guess they've never allowed more than 16 points the whole season. So take that with what you may. I'd probably stay away just because it's such a low number, and I would just take Ohio State. Like Mike said, if you want to eat the juice 6.5, but I feel like they could probably easily cover 7.5 too.
Yeah, I just think their defense is too good. Like, I don't see, like, to be fair, it was in College Station, but they only put up 10 points against A&M, and A&M has a pretty good defense, but I think Ohio State's defense is like a tier above what A&M's is. So, but that's why I kind of lean towards the under, you know. Yeah, so honestly, I'll probably at some point be playing the under in this game. Be interesting to see what
but it's just like
first half under is.
I guess if you believe that they won't allow more than 17 points, that would just require them to score only 24 points. But then, yeah, so 24-17 is 41.
Yeah, right now I'm seeing first half unders around like 20.5.
Ohio State might just like punch them and then just try to eat out the clock, but 20, well, that's assuming they score 17 points. So maybe the under is a good play and the game ends up, 27-10.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, what even is the team total for?
It's usually just a product of doing that math. So 24-16.
Yeah, right now I don't see a number for Miami, but yeah. So if you don't think Miami is scoring more than 17, which I don't, I think they can maybe score one touchdown in this game. And because it's I don't know, in my opinion, a playoff game. Bowl games have been kind of weird. I'd say a lot of the bowl games have been leaning towards the under, depending obviously on the game. But yeah, I'll probably be playing the under in this game.
Yeah, maybe you've convinced me. Maybe tease it up to, 42.5. Just depends on what's better, 6.5 or minus 42.5. I imagine maybe 6.5 you get better odds, but
yeah, because I mean, you got to give credit to Miami's defense. Like, the only way they can possibly be in this game is by playing good defense. And Ohio State, even in the Michigan game, Michigan defense is pretty good. I'd say Miami's defense is probably better as far as a pass rush perspective. Yeah, I think the only way this goes over is Ohio State just like pours it on and ends up scoring like a ton of points. But yeah, I don't see how Miami scores much on this defense. And then likewise, Ohio State's offense. Yeah, I can't put like a ton of trust in it either.
Cool. So yeah, that's the first college football game. Then tomorrow, New Year's Day, we have 3.
Yep. Starting off with Oregon, Texas Tech.
And that one's a sharp line. I believe it's 2.5?
2.5. I think it opened initially at Oregon minus 1.5, and then it got bought up to 2.5. I'm really hoping for a 3, which I doubt I'm going to get. But if it anywhere is a +3, I'd be taking Texas Tech.
Really? You like Texas Tech?
Yeah, I do. I think their defense – the only problem with Texas Tech is you haven't really seen them play anyone. But I think from what I've seen –
Are the Cougs no one, Mike?
Against BYU, and BYU is a lot better than people were saying, because that was the argument against BYU too. It's like, I haven't played anyone. But I think this Texas Tech defense at least is legitimate. You kind of have a little bit of question mark as far as offensively, but clearly what we've seen from Oregon against JMU, granted it was at the point where they're probably like their third string was in at the end of the game, but they kind of let JMU score a little bit more than you would think. So yeah, I don't think it should be more than a field goal.
Yeah. I know they were talking about it when I was like doing my research for the under in the Iowa game, how they played. Iowa 18-16. The over-under is 50.5. Oregon's offense is just so high flying, and allowing all those points to JMU. I would probably lean towards the over. I know it's a big number. My worries is if Texas Tech could keep up with Oregon, but or if Oregon gets shut down by Tech's defense, because we've seen that it's legit. So I don't know. The JMU game kind of scared me, and maybe I'm going off my friend who's from Portland and thinks that Oregon are frauds, but I would pick Texas Tech at the money line and, see where that goes.
Yeah. So me personally, I would see if I can try to get a 3. If not, maybe play something live at that point. But I would be on Texas Tech in some capacity on this game.
Yeah. Then the next game is Alabama at Indiana, or not at Indiana, just Alabama versus Indiana, taking place in the Rose Bowl, Pasadena. Should be a rainy game. I believe that's the forecast. Currently raining right now. Indiana's favored by 7 points. Over under is 47.5. Mike, do you think Bama can keep this?
No.
We don't really deserve
to be in the Indiana, even at the 7. I see if I can try to get a 6.5 right now. I see a little bit juice 6.5. I'll probably take that. But I think Indiana is the real deal this year. Alabama, they played OU, which OU has its own issues. I thought OU was going to win that game. But, OU was up big on them, and they just totally pooped their pants and let Alabama come back and win that game. I don't think that's going to happen with Indiana, knowing their coach. Yeah,
I'd probably have to agree. I've recently all of a sudden become a Francisco Mendoza fan. I don't know why. So I think it'd be cool to see that Big Ten playoff in the national championship. I think the way the bracket lines up, if they all take care of business, we will see that. Alabama's feisty, but they were down 21-0 or 17-0.
Yeah, to an OU team who's not, their offense is not good.
Yeah, and Oklahoma ended up crapping the bed. I think they had a blocked punt that helped Alabama get back in the game.
Punt, I want to say the punter sold that game. You literally saw in the replay him just drop the ball. How do you just drop the ball? Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. But I like Indiana as well. Than the last game. This could possibly be a Vegas game. You're going to have to be careful because I think I saw a post saying 95% of the money is on Georgia, or at least 95% of the picks. Georgia versus Ole Miss. Georgia's favored by 6 points with a total over under of 55.5.
Yeah, I'd go Georgia. I already bet them at 5.5. I might bet them again, but I mean, if they win by less than a touchdown, it's like a field goal game. They win by 4. I think in any case, Georgia will be in control of this game from start to finish. The only way I see it is not happening is if Ole Miss somehow gets an early, pretty big lead, because Georgia always historically, even if they're down 2 scores, they'll come back with their defense and they'll make some game-winning drives. So even then, they still have a chance to cover by a touchdown. So it's all Georgia here.
Yeah, I like Georgia too. I'm not afraid of Vegas getting their hands on it. I just feel
even a 6.5, 7. I would still bet that.
Yeah, I mean, they had a fun time beating up on Tulane, but missing Lane Kiffin and just Georgia being the powerhouse they are. Yeah, I like Georgia. And kind of the last week of the regular season, we could probably only go over the games that truly matter.
Yeah,
Saturday, Panthers are visiting the Bucs for the division, possibly. Bucs need a win regardless, but once again, if the Falcons beat the Saints on Sunday, it's all for naught, and the Panthers still get in. Bucs favored by 2.5. I like the Panthers just to win straight up.
Yeah, I would say so too. The Bucs have been awful the past 2 or 3 weeks. It goes from coaching. Baker's hasn't been good because of injury. Mike Evans getting pissed off because he's not getting thrown the ball that much. Their defense is in shambles. Like, their defense is not good. Anyone can score on that defense right now. So, yeah, it would only be Carolina. And it would be interesting, say hypothetically Atlanta did beat New Orleans. Would Carolina even show up to play? That'd be my only concern, is like, they know they're in the playoffs. They know.
Well, Carolina plays before the Saints.
Oh,
Carolina
yeah.
plays on
Sorry.
Saturday.
You're right. Saturday, Sunday. My bad. I thought they were on the
Sunday. Yeah. So
Carolina here. Give me Carolina.
Yeah, and then the night game on Saturday is that big game for the number 1 seed or wild card. Seahawks visiting the 49ers. Seahawks favored by 1.5. I like the Seahawks to win.
Yeah.
Once again, straight up, another underdog money line.
Yeah. Only concern is Seahawks. Their offense is not very good, especially against good defenses. Luckily, San Francisco is not a good defense. Their defense is terrible. As you clearly saw in the Chicago game, their offense is legit, but their defense is not. So I would rather lean on Seattle's defense to show up. Offense, you never know what you're going to get. Defense, you know what you are going to get. It'll be really interesting. I assume Kittle's going to play after not playing last week because this is a pretty big game. If they win this game, then they get a bye. So you kind of would think all hands on deck. If you're able to suit up, you will suit up. I would take the Seahawks here.
Yeah, same. JSN just ended up being too much, and Sam Darnold just ended up being too much. It seemed like they're rolling, even when they kind of were slow out of the gate versus Carolina. Was a West Coast team going to East Coast, but they still took care of business, won by 17.
Pretty good, like the Niners defense is non-existent.
Yeah, I mean, tell that to the people who vote on the MVP committee that Carolina's defense is good because our MVP Stafford put up a stinker to them.
It will be interesting. I would assume Kittle plays. I haven't looked at the practice report yet. Trent Williams went out last game. I don't know if he's going to play. I would assume he's probably going to play, but he got rolled out pretty quickly. So I don't know. But yeah, I would take Seattle here.
Yeah, and then Sunday night, I wish they would have swapped out Seahawks for this game, but that's neither here nor there. Ravens at the Steelers. Steelers will still be missing DK Metcalf for swiping at a fan. A couple weeks too late for me and my fantasy team, but what are you going to do? Baltimore favored by 3.5. Do we know if Lamar's going to be back? I think he should.
Yeah, I think John Harbaugh said he's most likely going to play.
Yeah, I think the Steelers absolutely pooped the bed last week. I know the Browns defense is good, and it was in Cleveland, but you got to take care of business. It was basically you win and you're in. I think the Ravens will be too much. Lamar Jackson back with Derrick Henry, and I think they should win 3.5. Yeah, I think they will cover 3.5.
I don't know about this game. I would have to look up injury wise because I haven't really been paying attention to either of these teams. The thing is, it's in Pittsburgh, right? So I think Baltimore is going to win. Depending if it's 3.5, 4, I kind of want to lean Pittsburgh at this point. Granted,
I feel like Rodgers is just banged up. He has that
but
his non-throwing hand that's all wrapped up.
True. I just don't know if I can trust Lamar Jackson. That's the thing. He's been so inconsistent, healthy, unhealthy, especially unhealthy. He's been inconsistent. So, they're just going to essentially just try to replicate as much as possible last week. They're just going to force feed Derrick Henry, which they probably should. Actually, I was listening to some guys break this down, and I think they were possibly giving the under a look in this game as well, because you think both teams are going to be running the heck out of the ball. Pittsburgh, they don't have any receivers. Their best receiver is Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Adam Thielen. And Adam Thielen is like almost 40 years old.
Yeah.
I can't trust this Pittsburgh offense, but also like I think both teams are just gonna run the heck out of the ball. It's gonna be a really boring game that shortens the time, it makes drives a lot longer as well because the clock's running. I think if it's like a 4.5, it would be interesting to see how much money Baltimore ends up getting, because I think more money will be bet on Baltimore, especially as you see Lamar Jackson get ruled in. Depending on that, I might take Pittsburgh or the under, but generally speaking, probably the under.
Yeah, so with the Seahawks, us both picking the Seahawks, assuming the Rams take care of business, the Rams will get to play the winner of the NFC South, which I feel like, I don't know the Cowboys odds. I think they still might be the favorites, but my Super Bowl pick is the Rams still at this point.
Yeah, I would say the Rams. Yeah, they have some issues on their defense. I would definitely say their left tackle issue has been pretty prominent, especially this past week. But as far as like, if they can get Devontae Adams back, which they should by the playoffs, I saw some of the clips where he was just warming up before the game. He looked actually pretty good, and they said he was feeling great. Of course, they're not trying to rush anything, so he won't be playing until first round of the playoffs anyway. So I like that. We'll do another show once like playoff seeding is confirmed, but dark horses for winning the Super Bowl or even just like making the Super Bowl, honestly, that'd be a pretty decent bet. Mainly on just the AFC side. I feel like the NFC, there's a lot of teams that could possibly do it. The AFC, I would pick Jacksonville or Houston. I think those are two.
Yeah, no, you read my mind. Jacksonville plus 1,300, Houston plus 1,400.
Is that
somebody has to go to the AFC to the Super Bowl from the
Super Bowl? Yeah, I think that even the rant will. You would think that whoever makes it from the NFC is probably going to win the Super Bowl. So at that point, depending on what the odds are, maybe just do a Super Bowl win future. But yeah, those two AFC teams, I'd be very interested in betting them just to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard somebody say just pick them to win the Super Bowl and then just hedge from there because you get double the odds. So that's what I've just heard. I mean, you're the podcast guru guy, but yeah, that wraps up our show for the day. Everyone have a happy new year.
What are you betting today?
I'm probably gonna do Ohio State, and I will probably do. I like the spread. Like, I don't know. I've just had a lot of misfortune with over unders recently. I don't think Miami will score more than 17, but with that in mind, I think it could get out of hand, and a 31-10 win goes over. So I'm probably going to play the 7.5, and if any opportunity presents itself, Miami goes up first, I would probably buy more.
That's the thing. It's like, do you think Ohio State's going to score 31 points?
I just feel like they can, and 24-17, well, I guess we both lose in that scenario.
Yeah, I think that's just way too high scoring. Like, I do know, like, of course, like college football, like anything above or anything below like 40 or even in the mid 40s, like, because I feel like college football generally teams a lot more. They're way more offense heavy than defense heavy for majority of teams, but I think these specific teams.
Yeah, it's tough because, I mean, like, I look at Ohio State's schedule, and once again, it's a knock against Ohio State.
Yeah,
they really haven't played anyone, at least ranked. The only team other than the game and Indiana in the Big Ten championship was Texas beginning of the season. Texas is kind of in a dogfight with Michigan right now. And Illinois, they won 34-16. So we'd both win in that scenario. But I think Ohio State is going to come out and want to send a message just because they lost to Indiana. I just feel more comfortable doing the 7.5. Like if they score 28 points, like they could still score 14, and that's 42, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I might play at some point Ohio State. Yeah, I would only be looking at Ohio State here. So, yeah, I'm probably going to play the under pregame and then maybe at some point live. If I can grab like even just a flat -7 or -6.5 odds, like I might go with that as well. But definitely the under for me.
Yeah, and I mean, it's scary, but I might play Pelicans money line.
No, I think I don't know if I'll play money line. I'll probably just play spread. It's like what, 2.5. So it gives me a little bit.
For me, it's like 1.5. Like if I'm gonna get whacked and lose by 1 point, like
the thing is, it happens. It happens. So
I know it happens.
The thing is, I don't trust Chicago to like lay points, but I also don't trust the Pelicans to necessarily like win the game either. Because I've seen too many times where it's like maybe you did money line or something. And this is just, I'm probably going to bet just the points. If it's like 1.5, the spread, then I'll probably just pick money line. But if it's like 2.5, you get into more like key numbers. So it's just like an extra buffer because you've always had the team Pelicans go up by 20 and then like the Bulls somehow come back and then last second shot, they like shoot at a buzzer beater and they win the game. But
what about New York, San Antonio tonight?
I'm probably not going to bet that game just because, I mean, you'd think San Antonio, but New York has kind of had San Antonio's number. So Spurs haven't been playing great lately.
Yeah, they beat him in the Cup game, but I was going to say, depending on what side you like, if you like Knicks, maybe tease that up and parlay it with Toronto beating Denver, because Denver beating Toronto in Toronto tonight, I just don't really see it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Toronto's on a back-to-back, if that makes any difference to anyone.
Yeah, and they've lost 3 straight, so like they're hungry for a W.
Yeah. Dang, I'm sad my Phoenix bet lost by 16.
Yeah, so all right. Well, we'll see you all in 2026.
Best of luck to everyone. Stay safe, bet responsibly, and catch y'all next year.